The story begins in 1797 in the hamlet of Annalachan near Aughur, County Tyrone, where John Joseph Hughes was born into a Catholic Ireland marked by penal laws, religious persecution, and a limited opportunity. He later remarked that before his baptism, he had lived 5 days in social and civil equality with the most favoured subjects of the British Empire, a line that reveals both the injustice of his world and the sharpness of his mind. As a young man, he apprenticed as a gardener at Favour Royal Manor, and in 1817, like so many of his countrymen, he left Ireland for America. He arrived not as a future Archbishop, but as a labourer. After repeated rejections from Mount St. Mary's College in Maryland, he was hired as a gardener by its rector. There he met Mother Elizabeth Ann Seton, who recognised his intellect and resolve, and through her encouragement he was finally admitted as a seminarian. Ordained in 1826, Hughes emerged as a formidable defender of Catholicism in a nation still deeply suspicious of it. In Philadelphia, he built churches. He founded St. John's Orphan Asylum and defended the Catholic faith in public debates against charges that it was incompatible with American liberty. In 1837, he was appointed Coadjutor Bishop of New York. 5 years later, he became bishop of a diocese that stretched across all of New York State and northern New Jersey. When threats of anti-Catholic violence arose in New York, Hughes warned that if one Catholic church were burned, the city would become a second Moscow. No church was burned, but his most enduring legacy was education. In 1841, he founded St. John's College on Rose Hill Manor along the Bronx River, the first Catholic institution of higher learning in the Northeast. That college would become Fordham University. He built an independent Catholic school system in New York when public schools excluded Catholic students. He established parishes across a rapidly expanding immigrant city. In 1850, when Pope Pius IX elevated New York to an archdiocese, Hughes became its archbishop, the spiritual head of a vast and growing Catholic population. 4 years later, he travelled to Rome and stood in St. Peter's Basilica for one of the defining moments of 19th century Catholic history, the proclamation of the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. He laid the cornerstone of what would become St. Patrick's Cathedral on Fifth Avenue, then dismissed as Hughes' folly as it was so far uptown. But time would vindicate him as the city rose around it and the cathedral became its spiritual crown. Nicknamed Dagger John for both the cross he placed before his signature and his combative spirit, Hughes combined fierce Irish identity with unwavering American patriotism. He counseled President Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War and served as a diplomatic envoy to Europe. He insisted that Catholic immigrants demonstrate loyalty to their adopted nation, even as he defended their dignity and rights. He was impetuous, he was complex, he was not always loved, but he built. He built institutions, schools, churches, identity. He built confidence in a people who had arrived poor and distrusted, and in doing so, he reshaped Catholicism in America. From rural Tyrone to Fifth Avenue, from gardener to archbishop, from outsider to architect of a city's spiritual life, Dagger John helped forge Irish America. Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to welcome Archbishop John J. Hughes into the 2026 Irish American Hall of Fame for his contributions to religion.